What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be doing two looks with the new Too Faced Pumpkin Spice palette. Guys, I'm nervous about this one. I'm not as nervous now because I've completed one look without like a complete disaster, but I was super excited when I saw the color story of this palette because it's cute for fall, but the reviews that I have seen, oh man, some of them have been brutal. I don't generally watch reviews of palettes before I review them because I don't want them to color my interpretation of the palette before I use it. But I just happened upon Sarah Jo Makeup's video and she had a really hard time with this. Then I kind of went down a rabbit hole, just sort of like casually clicking through other videos and but I bought this palette to do a multiple looks video and I did not come up with a backup plan. So we are in it for the long haul either way, my friends. So I'm going to be doing two looks with it today. This is the first look here. If you are not familiar with how I do things here on this channel, generally what I will do is timestamp each look in the description. That way, if you want to come back and recreate the look after you watch the video, you could just click right on that and jump right to whatever look you want to recreate. And I'll also list all of the products that I use in the video in the description and link as many of them as I possibly can for your convenience. What else is going on? How are you guys? I'm doing okay. I'm having a pretty good week so far. I have a nice quiet house to myself today, which is unusual. I am so ready for fall and like this palette is really very fall-esque. So regardless of what the formula winds up being like, I'm pretty excited that it just like exists on my desk right now. So that's where I'm at mentally. Please don't forget to like this video if you too are excited for fall, and also if you just want to do me a favor because it's very helpful and I would really appreciate it. Also, if you're new around here, come on and subscribe. Hang out, chill out with me. I mean, like, what's the worst that can happen? You decide I'm annoying and you unsubscribe? Whatever, big deal, right? Oh, and as usual, I will do a little bit of a review at the end to let you guys know what I think about the palette itself after I have used it multiple times. Does that sound good? You don't have a choice because that's how I'm making the video either way, so let's get into look number one here with the Too Faced Pumpkin Spice palette. All right, we're prepped, we're primed, we're ready to go. This is the outside packaging of the Pumpkin Spice palette. This palette is one of their tin palettes. This is what the packaging looks like on the inside. These are the colors inside the palette. I do feel like there are a couple of things missing from here right off the bat, but we'll get to that as we use it because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something that I'm not realizing will serve a purpose that I don't see it serving just yet. Also, the packaging says that this smells like pumpkin pie. I don't think it necessarily smells like pumpkin pie, maybe a little. Like I could definitely sense a little bit of nutmeg in there, but mostly it just smells sweet, but it does smell good. I'm gonna take my BH number 6 and I'm gonna go right into the namesake of this palette, Pumpkin Spice, right here, and I'm gonna start working that through my crease. I'm gonna start by packing that down with that brush and I'll blend the edges after the fact. And for those of you wondering if you're new around here, because sometimes when I test a new palette, I don't mention this and people ask in the comments and then I wind up just having to answer it 50 times. I prime my eyes with the Urban Decay Primer Potion and I use the color Eden because I like the way that kind of nude-ish or like beige color sort of blocks out the veins and stuff in my eyes. But 99.9% of the time, I find that it's a good primer that works with almost everything, so that's what I go with. One thing I think is interesting about Too Faced palettes and their scent, you don't like smell it while you're using it. So the implication is that you're gonna open your palette and be like, I'm like, who does that, you know? I mean, if you do, please leave me a comment and tell me that you do, because I most certainly don't, and I'm a fucking weirdo. So if anybody was gonna do it, it was gonna be me. I'm gonna go into the shade Ginger Spice, which is also kind of orange, but a little bit darker, and I'm taking that on a BH number 7, and I'm going to use that to start deepening up a little bit more directly into the crease area, and bringing that down around the outer corner. And I'm picking up my BH number 6 again, and just blending over the edges of that to just soften those two together. On my Sigma E36 brush, I'm gonna go into the shade Warm and Cozy, and I'm gonna pick a little bit of that up to continue deepening the outer corner and the outer portion of the crease area, but not the middle. I'm just kind of keeping this on the outside. I'm gonna grab a pencil brush and go into the shade Use Spicy, which is kind of like a magenta sort of a shade, and I'm gonna start tapping that on the lid area right next to where we put down that deep, I guess it was a burgundy shade. It's almost like a brown burgundy though. Just placing that kind of on the outer 1/3-ish. I'm gonna use that same brush and blend that into Warm and Cozy on the outer corner. I'm gonna grab a MAC 242 brush and I'm gonna go into this peach shade Fall for it, and I'm gonna pack that over the rest of the lid where we didn't put anything down yet. Just sort of lightly bridging the gap between where we put those orange shades in the crease and the pink on the lid, and filling in that empty space while also still keeping it a little bit lighter so it brings the eye shape forward there just a bit. I'm going back in with a little bit more You Spicy on that pencil brush just to make sure we didn't completely lose the pink on the outer corner. Well then, I just did the whole inner corner on this side and I wasn't recording the whole ass time. We are batting 1,000 today. So I'm going to do another other eye and show you guys what I did. I'm going to take a pencil brush and go into the shade Fall Vibes. This is a very metallic looking gold. It has almost like a green undertone to this gold. You know, like that antique-y gold kind of a feel. And I'm going to pack that on the inner corner, and I've already concealed and powdered under my eyes. And the reason I did that is because as you can see here, I'm bringing this gold onto the lower lash line, so I wanted to do that with my under eyes complete, so that way it was like there and I didn't have to fuck with it again. And I'm packing that color onto the inner corner. This is dry, and I have to say this color is potent even when it's dry. And what I did on the other eye was I dragged that shimmer up into like the corner of my crease here so that the shimmer almost contours the shape of my lid. I'm putting a little bit more right now than I actually want to be there in the end, but I will blend that into my lid with a different shade as well. I'm gonna grab my beige number 7 and blend through the crease with that to get that to be a little bit more soft in its transition into those mattes. And I'm taking more of that peach shade Fall for it on that flat MAC 242 brush and just putting that back on the lid to make sure that we didn't lose any of that to the shimmer. So now that shimmer is sort of hanging out on the inner corner and just contouring up like almost like a little shooting star shape. I'm gonna grab my NABLA pointed crease brush and I'm gonna go back into Ginger Spice again, and I'm gonna use that to start smoking out the lower lash line. I'm gonna wing that out to meet the shape on the outer corner. I don't want it to be super pointy, like, ooh, look at that cat eye kind of a look, but I am pointing it a little bit today, like a rounded point. And blending the edges of that with my beige number 6. There might be a little bit of pumpkin spice left on that, but that's okay because that's what we blended that shade out with on the top anyway. On a smaller, more dense pencil brush, this is an old one from Makeup Geek, I'm gonna go back into that matte burgundy brown called Warm and Cozy, and I'm going to use that on the outer corner just to deepen that up and blend it into the outer corner on the lid. And for the waterline, I'm gonna grab the Urban Decay pencil in the color Torch. You guys, if you were around last fall, you know already that I literally don't stop using this eye pencil color in the fall. It's just what goes in my waterline, and it's not gonna change this year, so get used to it because it's sticking around. It's a matte orange shade. I'm just gonna run that right through my waterline. Okay, put on House of Lashes Siren Flare. I finished up my skin, and I am going to add a very simple lip to this look using the Bite Beauty French Press Lip Gloss in the color Dirty Chai. Bite Beauty has a way of breaking my heart into a million tiny pieces like no other brand in the history of brands. Bite Beauty Agave Lip Mask is my favorite thing in the history of the world, and they reformulated that to make it vegan, and which is nice for people who only use vegan products, but it's not the same now at all, like not even a little bit, and it does not work as well in my opinion. And they don't make it anymore. So when they were discontinuing that formula, I literally bought it on sale. Like I bought 12 of them. So now I still have it in like a billion different flavors. They also discontinued the French press glosses, which are some of my favorite glosses in the history of the world. And I was wearing this on my Instagram story the other day. And this is a long story for no reason, but we're here anyway. Wearing this on my Instagram story the other day, and I did tag them in it, and they hopped in my DMs to tell me that if I like this color, that the shade Cider Donut from their new lip plumpers will have a similar effect, which was exciting to me. But also when I went on their website, the lip plumpers they're releasing today, and I still might pick it up, but I'm like a little put off by the fact that it's $25. It's 25 bucks for a gloss? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I'm also gonna wipe off, this is the Agave lip mask I have on right now. I'm gonna wipe it off before I start. And this is the first look. Before we get started on look number 2, after doing the first look and watching the footage back and wearing that for a little while the other day, I felt like the color fall for it, which is this matte peachy shade here, that kind of seemed like, as I wore it throughout the day, and even as I wore it on camera, so in that little short span of time, it was kind of fading off of my lids. Like the color was just disappearing and kind of settling into the fine lines of my lid, which is really weird for like a mostly matte shade. Shouldn't do that. So just a little note there that I wasn't crazy about. I don't know where to take this next look, and that is partially my fault, but also like I want to lean into the other shades to see how much diversity we can get out of this palette. But if I use mostly the purples that are in here, I feel like it's not going to be pumpkin spicy anymore. So I don't really know what to do with that information. But you know what? I'm gonna go in with pumpkin spice to begin with, because that's a good place to begin, and then we'll add in some purples and see where we go. So just like the first look, I'm gonna grab pumpkin spice on my BH number 6, and I'm gonna put it through my crease. This time I'm doing a little bit more of a flicked out end. I'm also not bringing it up quite as high as I did on the first look. I'm gonna take a Sigma E36 and I'm gonna go into the shade Sweetie Pie, and I'm gonna put a little bit of that through the crease, a little bit more concentrated than pumpkin spice. I don't know if this is gonna read as more deep than pumpkin spice. We'll find out now as I apply it. It's not like a lot deeper, but it definitely has a little bit more depth to it, which is helpful. It looks like the color of like pie crust. You know, honestly, I think the crust is the best part of any pie. And like when I see people eat the inside of a pie and not eat the crust, I'm like, bitch, you just wanted pudding though. That's what that is. On that same brush, I'm going to go into the shade Spice Baby, and I am going to deepen the outer corner with that a little bit more, but also bring it down onto the outer corner of the lid, not just the crease. All right, this plan is starting to make like a small amount of sense to me, so I'm running with it. I'm gonna grab my Stay Naked concealer in the white shade, and I am going to do a little bit of a cut crease on the inner corner, but I'm gonna keep this cut crease lower than I normally keep my inner corner cut crease, because I sort of want to have like that more narrow lifted eye look. Usually I tend to overdo everything, and so I might not actually achieve that, but I'm going to try. By God, I think I did it. If I just leave it there, I think I did it. Next, I'm gonna grab my MAC 242 and go into the shade Want a Piece of Me, which is a lighter purple shade, and I'm gonna pack that over that white inner corner. But I'm only gonna do that on the first bit, and then I'm gonna switch to another shade because this is very, very light. It's almost silvery when you apply it, which is weird because it looks more purpley in the pan, but I guess, oh, I don't know, it is kind of silvery. On the same brush, I'm going to switch to PSL and Chill, also purple and shimmer, but a little bit brighter. I'm just going to pop that over the center part of the lid, and that is also more silvery, lavendery, and less purple than I was expecting it to be. On that same flat brush, I'm going to go into the shade Love You a Latte, and I'm going to use that on the outer corner to kind of bridge the gap between those darker matte shades and the shimmers that we put on the lid. I was gonna go in with the deeper purple, but I think I'm gonna use the deeper purple like closer to the lash line, almost like a liner, maybe? We'll see. I'm gonna grab this NABLA liner and brows brush, and I'm gonna go into that matte purple Spice of Life. And I'm gonna push it along the lash line around the outer corner and sort of smoke that into like a little bit of a winged liner. At the outer corner, I'm just lining that brush up with my lower lash line and flicking it right toward my brow so I get the right angle, and then I'll build the rest of it and smoke it out from there. And I'm tapering it much thinner as I get into the inside to kind of make more of like a lifted feline-y shape. Just trying to keep this one a little bit slinky and sultry. And I'm gonna pick up that little Sigma brush that I used earlier and just blend over the edge of that, maybe picking up a little bit more of Love You a Latte to help blend that into the matte shades around it. Not blending it too much on the inner portion because I don't want to spread it further, just gonna keep it thin there. All right, I did some concealer and powder, and I want to like kind of extend the inner corner a little bit, and I want to do that with a purple liner. So I'm going to grab this 1979 pencil from Melt. This is actually a lip liner. I've never used it on my lips, but I think it's going to be just perfect for what I want to do here because it's like the right color purple. So I'm just going to go into my inner corner and extend the line of the inner corner just the tiniest bit. I have like the worst eye shape in the world for like extended inner corners, so I try not to do it too heavily when I do it, but just that little effect, just like the tiny extension, I think makes a big difference in the look. I noticed that, I guess it must be Scott Barnes because I'm pretty sure he does Jennifer Lopez's makeup all the time. Her inner corner is always like so perfectly extended, just like the tiniest bit, and it looks so good. And it's like I guess they probably touch it up every time they do a take, but it always looks so perfect, and I'm like, how? And I'm just gonna take that shade right around the underside of the tear duct as well. Kind of emphasizes that shape that we created without making it any bigger. The reason that it doesn't work that well on me is because like the inner corner of my eye sort of folds over itself. So if I take it too far, then it looks like... I'm also going to use that pencil on the outer corner just a teeny bit. And I'm gonna go through the actual waterline with Torch pencil again. So I'm using those purple tones, but I'm bringing that orange back in as well. Now that dense little Makeup Geek pencil brush, I'm gonna go into Spice of Life and I'm going to line the outer corner with that and start smoking it out just a little. Just so it's soft and it makes sense with the soft wing that we did on the top. I'm gonna blend that out with my Sigma E36. I'm not doing any of that to the inner corner though. And on a Real Techniques detail brush, I'm gonna grab just a little bit of that metallic shade Fall Vibes and just press it right under the lashes in the center where we put down that orange and we don't have any other color there. I think it'll just be like a nice little change of texture and bring a little bit more of those fallish tones back to the look so it doesn't get too purpley. On a clean Real Techniques detail brush, I'm gonna go into the shade Whipped Cream and I'm going to use that to highlight the inner corner with a matte whitish shade around where we extended that inner corner a little bit. That way it brings out that inner corner, brightens it up, but doesn't take away from what we did there, and also doesn't take away from that little bit of shimmer that we put in the center. And the reason I'm using this Real Techniques detail brush is so that I don't accidentally blend it right over the inner corner that I created, even though I think I'm probably gonna have to touch it up a little bit anyway. I put on House of Lash's Siren Flare again because I don't know, I'm having a moment with them. I'm like living for the shape that they give the eyes, and they're like enough lash to be a lash, but they're still kind of like on the subtle side. I just love them. Anyways, I also just spent 15 minutes, I'm not exaggerating, 15 minutes digging through my drawer of lipstick to find this specific shade because I felt like it's what this fucking look needed, and you know what, it better look good. The color I was looking for, the color in question is the Fenty lipstick, the stick lipstick, not the Stunna lip paint, in the color Freckle Fiesta. I love this shade. Related or possibly unrelated, I also did add some faux freckles because I do feel like faux freckles have kind of like a fall pumpkin spice ass vibe. And you know what, maybe with this being called Freckle Fiesta, I'm onto something here. I don't know. I don't really have a lip liner that matches this shade, so I am going to use the Urban Decay pencil in the color Torch as a lip liner. It makes such a good lip liner. This is the best pencil. It's just the best pencil. I used a lip liner on my eyes and I'm using an eyeliner on my lips today. You can't make that up. And this is the second look. Okay, so the good news is that that was not a nightmare. Considering how bad I thought this was going to be, it was that's a good start. That being said, I have a couple of things to say. So the color story of this palette is very interesting and pretty just to look at, but once I started to dive into it, I don't really completely understand what the more icy purple shades have to do with pumpkin spice. I like the combination of purples with these orange tones because purples and oranges are across from each other on the color wheel. They're complementary colors, so they do pop nicely next to each other. But I think that if they had kept it more of like a warmer purple, we would have had more of a fall feel coming from this. Whereas in this look where I used more of the icy purples, I don't feel like that's necessarily the case. And I think that if they had used more of like plummy purples in here with the orange shades, it would have had more of like a pumpkin spicy feel. But that's just kind of like a personal preference sort of a thing. The other little bit of a complaint is that the more shimmering purple shades, specifically PSL and Chill and Want a Piece of Me, on the lid, these are really not very purple at all. They come off like more of like a silver lavender, which again, still pretty, but they just don't look like you would expect them to from what they look like in the pan. I didn't have any major issues as far as blending, patchiness, fallout were concerned with this palette. I know a lot of people were experiencing that. I didn't really feel like it was too big of an issue. Warm and Cozy did sort of stick in my crease a little bit and require more time for me to blend it out. So it was a little bit on the difficult side, but nothing crazy, nothing wildly patchy. Overall, this palette is okay. If you already ordered it and you're waiting for it, I don't think you should be worried that you are going to be disappointed sorely or anything, but I also wouldn't tell you to run out and go get it, especially because I feel like if you really wanted to, most of you could probably dupe this out from stuff you already have. For example, I think that if you own the big Norvina palettes, with the exception of like that blue-green one, the colors in those, you could dupe this very, very easily, like very easily. And I'm sure there are a million other palettes that you could use to dupe this out too. But it's definitely not something that I would see myself reaching for on a regular basis because I would pick other similar things over it. So overall, no, I'm not really sure if I recommend this one. I was happy with the way both of these makeup looks turned out, with the exception of the first one having a little bit of fading, which also another factor into why this is just mediocre and not great. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you picked this palette up, if you planned on picking up this palette, have you changed your mind since seeing reviews? Just what are your thoughts on the matter? I would love to hear about it. Also, if you are not too busy, you don't mind taking a second, maybe leave a like on this video, help me out. It would be very, very kind of you, and I would really appreciate it. And if you are newish around here, been creeping around through a few videos, I would love to have you stick around and subscribe because it's quite frankly a good time and I would like to have you here. To keep up with me between these videos, go find me on Instagram. I'm at Miss Quinface over there and I post on my stories all the time. I just posted a little behind the scenes video. Out this window back here, there's a window right behind me. There's a tree that's hollow and there's a baby raccoon sleeping in it, and I just posted that on my Instagram story, and that is the kind of quality content you can expect over there. So come find me on that Miss Quinface and I'd love to have you over there as well. And you know, I post makeup looks and like makeup tips and lip art and stuff like that. If you're not into baby, who isn't into baby raccoons though? Come on. That's all for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for hanging out and talking about makeup with me today. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you in the next one.